7 powerful ways to align your life with the universe's natural harmony. The fire, the fall, and the first truth. It was the middle of the night, and my apartment was on fire. I had 20 seconds to grab what I could. I stumbled through thick smoke, coughing, heart pounding, eyes watering. I could feel the heat clawing at my back like a wild animal as I shoved open the door and stumbled out into the cold night. And in that moment, watching the building burn, my possessions turning to ash, I realized something terrifyingly beautiful. The fire had taken everything except me. That night, the universe didn't whisper, it roared, and in that roar, I heard a secret that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Nothing belongs to you. Not your stuff, not your reputation, not even your next breath. But what if that's not something to fear, but something to embrace? I'm going to share with you 7 powerful ways to align your life with the universe's natural harmony. Using timeless Stoic wisdom, but told in a way you've never heard before. If you stay with me until the end, I promise this. You won't just understand Stoicism, you'll feel it in your bones. Like the first time you really tasted freedom. Let's start with the moment everything feels like it's collapsing, because that's often where true alignment begins. See, we all spend years building mental fortresses, plans, expectations, stories about how life should go. But life doesn't care about your plans. Life is chaos in disguise. The Stoics didn't just accept this. They celebrated it. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them." So I asked myself, as I watched my life smoldering in front of me, what if this wasn't destruction, but realignment? You, too, might be carrying expectations so heavy they're warping your soul. Maybe it's a relationship that has to work out, a career you can't let go of, or a version of yourself you keep forcing into existence. And every time the universe nudges you off that path, you resist harder. But what if that resistance is the real problem? The Stoics believed in living according to nature, not the birds and trees kind of nature, but the deeper, invisible harmony that governs everything. Marcus Aurelius said, "Align yourself with the rhythm of the universe, and you'll stop hitting walls." So I tried it. After the fire, I didn't rebuild my apartment. I simplified. I stopped chasing things that drained me. I asked, what does the universe seem to be nudging me toward? That question alone unlocked something ancient and raw. It's not about giving up. It's about getting in sync. Imagine you're in a river. You can fight the current and exhaust yourself. Or you can learn its patterns, feel its pull, and let it carry you. That's Stoicism, not cold detachment, but passionate alignment with the truth. Let me take you deeper. There was a guy the first knew. Let's call him David, ultra-disciplined, high-performing, obsessed with success. One day, out of nowhere, he got fired. Total blindside. He spiraled. Anger, blame, depression, and then, silence. 3 months later, I saw him again. He looked calm, peaceful, like someone who'd finally stopped screaming at a locked door. "What change?" I asked. He said, "I realized I wasn't angry because I got fired. I was angry because I thought I shouldn't have." That's it. That's the poison. The word should. It infects your thinking, tells you life owes you something. But when you remove that word, reality suddenly becomes bearable, even beautiful. So here's the first powerful way to align your life with the universe's harmony. Drop your shoulds. Replace them with is, not, my partner should treat me better, but my partner is treating me this way. What will I do in response? That shift alone will unshackle you from invisible prisons. Here's another. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Yes, I know how that sounds. But hear me out. Seneca, a Roman Stoic who was absurdly wealthy, used to sleep on the floor once a month, eat stale bread, wear rags, just to remind himself, I can survive this. I don't need luxury. Why? Because comfort is seductive. It convinces you that your happiness is fragile, dependent on things staying perfect. But discomfort? That's freedom training. Every cold shower, every rejection, every awkward silence, it's not pain, it's proof. So try it. Wake up early for a week. Walk instead of drive. Skip the coffee. Not because you have to, but because you can. That's strength. That's alignment. And here's a twist you didn't see coming. The people who live most in tune with the universe often look like rebels. They don't chase trends. They don't obsess over being understood. They don't cling to identities like, I'm the smart one, or I'm the funny one. They're fluid, like water, because they know identity isn't truth. It's just a temporary lens. This brings us to the third principle: let go of identity attachment. I had a mentor once, an old man who'd lost everything twice. Once in a war, once in a financial crash. I asked him how he kept going. He smiled and said, I never confuse the raft for the river. I was confused. He explained, everything you think you are, your job, your skills, your story, that's the raft. It helps you cross. But the river is life itself. When the raft breaks, people panic, but I just swim. That hit me like lightning. So I started questioning every identity I clung to. I'm a deep thinker. Cool. But what happens when I'm tired? Or wrong? Do I fall apart? You're so strong. Maybe. But if I cry, am I suddenly weak? The Stoics remind us, everything external can vanish. So don't build your life on sand. Build it on virtue. Your ability to choose courage, kindness, patience, clarity. Because no one, not fate, not fire, can take that from you. Now, let me ask you something. Who would you be if you lost everything? Not a fun question, I know, but sit with it, breathe into it. Because the answer to that is where your true power lives. And this brings us to the fourth way to align with the universe: practice amor fati. Love your fate. Not tolerate it, not endure it, love it. The Stoics believed the universe wasn't against us. It was shaping us, molding us. Like fire tempers steel, life tempers character. So when things go wrong, really wrong, I now ask, what is this trying to make me? And every time I do, I find gold in the ashes. We'll dive deeper into that in the next part, where I'll show you how one man lost his entire family and found the one truth that kept him alive. He lost everything, and then discovered the secret that saved his soul. I want you to meet Elias. Elias was the kind of man who did everything right. Devoted father, loving husband, hardworking professional, stoic. Even before he knew the word, he had a quiet strength. The kind that made you feel safe just being around him. His kids adored him. His wife, his high school sweetheart, was his anchor. Then came the crash. It started with a late-night phone call. His son, his youngest, had been in an accident. Gone, just like that. A few months later, his wife collapsed at home. Cancer, stage 4. He barely had time to process the news before she passed in his arms. Within 1 year, he went from family man to standing utterly alone in an empty house. The grief was a tidal wave, but it wasn't the silence that broke him. It was the meaninglessness. He kept asking himself, what's the point of any of this? And then, Elias did something extraordinary. He walked to the local library, picked up a dusty copy of Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, and read a single line that would change everything. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That night, Elias didn't just read those words. He breathed them. Instead of resisting his pain, he began observing it, not suppressing, not escaping, observing. That's the fifth way to align yourself with the universe. Observe without judgment. We live in a world obsessed with labeling everything. Good, bad, right, wrong. But the Stoics knew something radical. Events are neutral. It's our interpretation that creates suffering. Elias didn't stop grieving, but he stopped arguing with reality. He stopped asking why the universe had betrayed him, and started asking what the universe was inviting him to become. So every morning, he wrote down his pain, not in dramatic prose, but in quiet clarity. I feel sorrow. I miss her. This is what it means to love. He turned grief into ritual. suffering into presence, and do you know what happened? He became a guide for others. He began hosting small gatherings for people who had lost loved ones. He didn't preach, he listened, he held space, and people found healing, not because he had answers, but because he had truth. That's alignment. And here's the deep truth: your greatest wound can become your greatest offering. But only if you stop hiding from it. You want to live in harmony with the universe? Then you have to stop running from your shadows. Face them, befriend them, learn from them. The Stoics believed everything that happens to you is a training opportunity. Not a test, not a punishment, a training. And that brings us to the sixth way to align with the universe: use everything. Everything. Use your failures as feedback. Use your enemies as teachers. Use your heartbreaks as blueprints for love that's deeper and realer. There's a story about a Stoic philosopher named Cleanthes. He was once mocked for being too poor to even afford candles. People laughed at him, said he lived like a ghost. His response? I am not poor, I am free from distraction. That's the mindset. He didn't let others define his life. He used what he had: quiet nights, solitude, simplicity, to think deeply, write poetry, and reach a level of peace most people never touch. So ask yourself, what in your life are you calling a curse that could be your greatest asset? Your social anxiety? Maybe it's your deep sensitivity. Your failures? Maybe they're trimming away the ego you didn't need. Your loneliness? Maybe it's preparing you to meet people with deeper presence and gratitude. But to see that, you must stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? Let's go even further. The seventh and final way to align with the universe: practice present moment precision. I'm not talking about vague mindfulness or chilling out. I'm talking about razor sharp, no escape, radical presence. The Stoics weren't just deep thinkers. They were warriors of the now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Can you feel that? That's not morbid, that's power. When you live like death is always near, you don't waste time being petty. You don't waste energy on drama. You don't postpone your truth. You live, not like a zombie numbing out, but like a flame burning clear. Elias embodied this. One night, I watched him stare at a cup of tea for 5 straight minutes. Just breathing it in, feeling the warmth, fully alive. He turned that cup into a ceremony. Because he knew, this is all we get. This moment, this breath, this heartbeat. So what are you doing with yours? Right now, stop. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your breath, the weight of your body, the pulse in your fingertips. This is the only place life exists. Not in the past, not in some fantasy future, but here, right now. If you want harmony with the universe, you don't find it by escaping. You find it by arriving. Again and again, no matter how messy, how raw, how incomplete you feel. The Stoics weren't cold, they were burning with life. But they didn't waste that fire on things they couldn't control. They focused it, like a laser, on what they could. Their choices, their actions, their integrity. That's your challenge now. Not to become perfect, but to become present. Because once you stop chasing control and start aligning with nature's flow, something incredible happens. Life stops being a fight and starts becoming a dance. And that dance is different for everyone. For Elias, it became silence and service. For me, it became storytelling and simplicity. For you, that's what we'll explore next. In the final segment, I'll take you on a journey through one of the most brutal weeks of my life. A time when I almost gave up on everything, and show you the exact Stoic tools that brought me back into harmony, stronger than ever. He almost quit on life, until a single Stoic question changed everything. It was a Thursday morning when it hit me, the kind of hopelessness that doesn't come with loud thoughts, just a quiet fog that covers everything. I hadn't eaten, I hadn't slept, I was lying on my floor, staring at the ceiling, feeling like my entire life was unraveling thread by thread. Financial pressures were crushing me. A close friend had betrayed me, and my sense of direction, my purpose, had dissolved into thin air. It wasn't that I wanted to die. I just didn't know how to keep going. And then, right there, on the floor, I remembered a single line from Epictetus. If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own. That sentence struck me like thunder. I realized I'd been living for everything outside myself. For success, validation, being seen as the wise one. But when life stripped those masks away, I was forced to ask a terrifying question. Who am I without applause? That was the Stoic question that saved my life. Because Stoicism doesn't offer you escape. It offers you anchor. It doesn't numb the pain. It sharpens your clarity inside it. I sat up, legs trembling, and asked myself, what part of this can I control? Not everything, not the betrayals, not the debts, but I could control what I did in the next 5 minutes. So I stood up, cleaned the dishes in my sink, drank a glass of water, and walked outside barefoot. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't heroic, but it was alignment, and that's when I realized. You don't heal in a day. You heal in 1,000 small decisions that honor your deeper self. Even when the world feels like it's breaking. The universe isn't testing you. It's calling you. And your job isn't to fight it, it's to hear it. So if you've ever felt like quitting, start there. Let the bottom be your beginning. Now let's bring it all together. These 7 Stoic principles, not as theory, but as lifelines. I'm going to walk you through each one again. But this time, I want you to feel them, not just hear them. 1. Drop your shoulds. Every time you think, this shouldn't be happening, ask, but it is happening. So how will I meet it? The moment you replace judgment with engagement, your suffering begins to dissolve. Harmony isn't about life being fair. It's about you being free from needing it to be. 2. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Every day, do one hard thing on purpose. Not because you're a masochist, but because resilience is a muscle. That cold shower? That difficult conversation? That moment of honesty? That's not pain. That's training for greatness. 3. Let go of identity attachment. You are not your job. You are not your trauma. You are not even your personality. You are the awareness underneath it all. Fluid, adaptable, free. The moment you stop clinging to titles is the moment you begin touching eternity. 4. Practice amor fati. Love your fate, not in some cheesy, motivational way, but like a warrior who sees every blow as sharpening his sword. What if your pain is your sculptor? What if the very thing you hate is shaping the strength you prayed for? 5. Observe without judgment. Don't label your feelings. Don't run from them. Sit in the storm and watch. That shame? It's just a cloud. That fear? Just a wind passing through. Let it come. Let it go. You're the sky, not the storm. 6. Use everything. Make your life into art. Use your flaws as texture. Use your past as color. Use your regrets as shading. Don't waste anything. Even the poison can become medicine, if you know how to transmute it. 7. Practice present moment precision. Right now. Bring all of yourself here. Not half, not distracted, all of you. When you eat, taste. When you walk, feel. When you love, love without armor. The more you inhabit this moment, the more you vibrate in harmony with the entire cosmos. And here's what I want you to truly understand. The universe is not chaotic. It's complex, yes, but it's rhythmic. It has tides, seasons, patterns, and you. Your anxiety, your dreams, your failures. You're not separate from it. You're woven into it. Every time you resist what's happening, you become a discordant note in a beautiful song. But when you let go, when you breathe into what is, instead of what should be, you become music again. Think of it like this. A tree doesn't resist the wind. It bends. The ocean doesn't rage when it meets a rock. It flows around it. That's nature's wisdom, and it's inside you. Let me leave you with one final story. There's a tiny Stoic practice I now do every night. Before I sleep, I light a single candle. I sit in silence, and I ask, if this was my last night alive, did I live today with truth? Not success, not comfort, truth. Did I speak it? Did I follow it? Did I honor it? Sometimes the answer is no, and I don't beat myself up. I just notice, and promise to do better. But more often than not, the answer is yes, because when you live by Stoic principles, you start aligning, not just with wisdom, but with life itself. So this is your invitation. Not to become someone new, but to remember who you've always been. A being capable of clarity, of presence, of virtue, a flame the universe has been tending since the moment you were born. Now it's your turn to burn bright, not in chaos, not in frenzy, but in quiet, radiant alignment with the harmony that holds everything together. And if you ever forget this path, if you ever fall back into noise, fear, and striving, just return to one breath, one moment, one choice. That's where your power lives. That's where the Stoics lived. And now, that's where you live. Thank you for watching. If this moved you even an inch, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, let someone else feel the weight and wonder of what you just experienced. Drop a comment below, tell me which Stoic principle hit you hardest, and subscribe for more life-changing wisdom. Not tomorrow, now. Because the universe isn't waiting. And neither should you.